Welcome to the Feminine Thriving Podcast, brought to you by the Jade Temple, the sisterhood devoted to the wisdom and pleasure of the female body.
We are your hosts, Tamara and Hilary Kimball, and we are excited to journey with you as we share all about how to move from surviving to thriving in a female body. Thriving for us means you feel a sense of safety in your own body, that you are dripping with sensuality and aliveness, that you're experiencing pleasure and orgasms that connect you to your own divinity, and you feel confident, powerful, and abundant walking this planet with a badass community of sisters by your side. Oh, and we welcome the mess, the mud, the chaos, and embrace all that it is to be a woman.
There will be solo episodes, episodes with both of us, and episodes with other smart, wise, funny, and sexy women, and maybe even men, to share their embodied wisdom with us. We acknowledge our sharing on this podcast comes from the experiences and viewpoints of us, two white, middle-class, cisgendered women. If we ever say anything that causes harm to you or your experience on the planet, please share with us so that we can continue to grow, learn, and bring new perspectives also to this space.
So, without further ado, let's drop into today's juicy episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Feminine Thriving Podcast. This is another solo session with me, Tamara. And yeah, I'm really happy to have space and time to share more about what's been moving through me and what I want to share on this particular episode, which is all about coming out of the darkness. For anyone who follows me on social media, you may have seen or heard or read that I have had a few months really of a pretty challenging time. I would say since April, early April, and most of April and May. And yeah, I really feel I'm coming through the other side and very connected to the magic of life again, and yeah, just feeling connected to my body, my friends, nature, and the beauty of this existence. And I definitely wasn't feeling that for a little while. And I also am really aware that there are quite a few people on the planet right now really having a challenging time. And yeah, I had a beautiful friend, sister, Jade Temple sister, asked me, actually, she sent me a message and said, would I be open to sharing more about what helped me kind of come through? And it was great because it really, I was just responding to her in a voice note, and then I was like, actually, there's some real nuggets of gold in here, and I would like to sit with it a little bit and share it with others. So here I am, sharing what worked for me. And as with everything in life, we all have our own medicines and we all have our own ways of coming home and coming back into wholeness. So I'm sharing mine, and hopefully there's one or two nuggets in there that can support you if you are also having a challenging time, or if you have a challenging time. So yeah, I'll share that I started, I think, to go the beginning of this for me was really like observing a state of burnout, or the beginnings or the warning signs of a state of burnout. And I did do an episode on this, I guess, a month or so ago. And yeah, I really realized how much tension I was carrying in my body, and therefore also having more tension in the way that I relate to others. And it's an old pattern of mine that's very, very deep, this sort of burnout pattern. And a big part of my journey with that was actually not shaming myself for it, because, there's this like voice of like, you teach embodiment and listening to your body and blah, blah, blah. And here you are again. And yeah, so the first sort of stage of that was really just coming into like a peaceful and loving acceptance of myself. and actually really coming into the space of, yeah, I teach this because I need it so badly. I teach it because I have very, very deep patterns of ignoring my body and going into achievement mode and high perfection mode and stress. Actually, stress is a very big part of my, I would say, somatic memory, and it can very easily come back into experiences and into even things that are meant to be bringing me joy and pleasure and play. I'll come on to that a bit more in a little bit because it's actually one of the big keys for me as well in the last few months. So, yeah, I really observed first a state of burnout, and then, of course, we were launching our Jade Temple membership, our new online membership, and so there was a lot of should, of what I should be doing, and that was adding another layer of sort of pressure into me of not feeling like I could show up the way that I wanted to, as we were sharing all about this beautiful, beautiful thing that we've been working on for a long time. I had a lot of physical pain in my body, really quite a lot. And actually, in hindsight, this pain had been present for some time and I hadn't really been addressing it or listening to it properly and really taking the time to ask my body what she needed, what were the messages, what was she communicating to me. And I'm still in the process of healing that pain, I guess, or giving my body what she needs, but I'm feeling so much better physically. And yeah, there were some other things going on in my life, in my relationship with my ex, which was actually causing me a lot of deep heartbreak, and I wasn't really admitting it to myself, just how much it was hurting me. And yeah, some family illness news and just a lot of things all at once, as well as just the general world and collective pain that exists right now. And, you know, being any kind of sensitive human, this stuff affects us and it affects me. And yeah, I don't want to dismiss that because it's real, and you know, there is a lot of stuff going on around the world, and it's a lot for us to hold. Yeah. I think that's kind of context. I probably won't go too much into each one of those areas. I want to get more into sharing about, you know, some of the keys that really have helped me in the last few months. And yeah, the first one really is this kind of getting real with myself about the pain that I was experiencing, or the sadness or the grief or the different emotions that I had, not just in relation to my ex, although that was a big one. Really, it was a big one. I actually did a live in the Jade Temple Sisterhood Facebook group on this, if anyone wants to check that out, if it's something that you're experiencing. And part of that was like shame around, I'm still in this story and experiencing pain from this story. Like, what is wrong with me? I need to, you know, move on. And so because of this shame, I was really suppressing and not feeling some of the feelings that just needed to be felt. Didn't need to be even a long process, but it's like once I actually stopped and felt and admitted to myself some of these emotions, actually the charge of these emotions was really able to leave my body. And for me, there is no greater way for getting in touch with what's real, what's actually going on underneath the surface, than slowing down and doing embodiment practices. It's this opportunity to, stop and be with what's really going on underneath the surface. And yeah, I'm very fortunate that I have a library of many different embodiment practices that I can do. following Hillary mostly, because there's a lot of guidance of recordings that she's got in a big vault that we have. And some of these practices really allowed me to see what was really going on underneath, and then to begin the process of feeling them. And I also had this come up in a therapy session, in a one-on-one therapy session, and we really went deep into holding space for this grief that I was experiencing. And once I was really, really honest with myself and really allowed myself to feel it, to cry it, to be with it, as often is, it was a huge shift, huge. Yeah. Just checking in if there's anything else I want to share about that. I mean, I will just share, in our community chat with the sisterhood, within our membership, another sister just shared how this practices just gave her access to feel her grief, to access this grief, these things that sit within us that we really sometimes just try and avoid, even subconsciously. It's not like we're saying, oh, I'm just not going to feel that, but it's like we distract, or it's there underneath the surface, and we just don't slow down enough, pause enough, and drop in deep enough to ourselves and to our bodies and to present moment experience, that we can just like keep going. And this thing is actually under the surface saying, come and look at me, feel me, please, I'm here, I'm real. So yeah, just the beauty of this work. It really, really is so powerful. So yeah, another thing that was a real turning point for me, and actually it was just a few weeks ago, was I took myself off to my favorite little nature haven, which is a place called Wainam Beach in Kopangang on this island. And we can only get there by boat. So it kind of feels like getting dropped to another secluded little island where there are no cars and no bikes, and some of the most beautiful nature I've ever seen in my life. And there's something about the frequency there and the people there and the environment and everything, the beauty that's been created there, that really allows for play, which is actually another subject I'm going to come on to. But playing, I feel like it's an adult's playground where, you see lots of grown humans sort of just like flopping about on the shore where the waves are just washing them up and down, and they're kind of getting, washed from this place to that place, and just allowing the water to wash them. And maybe there's music and people are dancing with some fun costumes or hula hoops, or just reading in a hammock, or walking on nature and having our feet on the earth the whole time. It's just a space for presence, actually, presence and play, and turning my phone off, which is a huge one. I don't know if it was actually off, but it was in my bag and I wasn't looking at it and I wasn't checking anything. And, we're so constantly on, like, and, even when we're not actually doing anything, the habit of just picking up the phone and switching on Instagram. And it's like this reset of put the phone away, be in nature, be in presence with yourself, even for 24 hours or 12 hours or 2 days or whatever it is that you can carve out. Space, this is another way to access what's sitting underneath in the system, when we're busy distracting and looking at the phones and doing all of the things. It doesn't allow us to really, really feel. So yeah, this was a huge reset for me, just taking myself offline, putting the phone away and being in nature, and just, nature. Nature. This is really, I believe, our greatest resource. I probably might say it in other times about something else. My music is one of my greatest resources, but I think the greatest. for me, and probably I believe for most humans, is time in nature. Even an hour, I feel it does reset the system. It's like there's a retuning of the system and of the senses and of being able to feel. And yeah, again, if there's something that you are working through, see if you can get yourself somewhere just surrounded by nature, no buildings, no people, no phones, and feel the power of just sitting there. Actually, I remember when I first I did a training with the Somatic Institute for Women, which is profound, beautiful training. And our homework for the first few weeks was go and sit in nature. Just sit. No journaling, no listening to podcasts, no, reading, doing all of these things that we go and sit in nature and we're still doing. And this was a very big epiphany for me. I realized I was going to nature a lot and then I was putting on a podcast and learning about something. And it's like, no, just go and sit, look, explore, looking at the dragonflies as they fly past you, play with them, smile at them. Look at the leaf, look at the veins on the leaf, and just like lose yourself in the beauty of this wisdom of nature. Just feel the sun on your skin and feel, I was in a waterfall often, so feel the water and just like allow the water to move you. And yeah, there is really nothing as healing as time being in nature without doing. So yeah, that's a big one. Another one that I really observed was where I was allowed of alignment with my values. So I got pretty clear on my values in the last 6 years since I left corporate world, when I walked away from everything that was my identity, completely walked away from it all with a backpack on my back and dropped myself in India. And when you have nothing that ties you to who you were or who you made yourself to be and the image that you'd created of yourself in your mind, and then also all of the environmental things that are familiar to you, it gives you a lot of space to get real with yourself about what is important to me in my life. What are the things that I want to do in how I live my life that I know are my true North Star, my true guiding star of how I want my life to be. And yeah, like of course, given my track record of being a workaholic and giving my life to my career for decades and living a very, very high stressed life, all in the search for or seeking, I mean, deep down it was for validation, but there was like more money, more promotions, more blah, 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 blah. And money was a big one. It always was like, the more money I get, then I'm finally going to feel happier. I'm finally going to feel worthy, or I'm finally going to feel enough. And so walking away from that, I would say, delusion, I really, really, really realized that money is amazing. It can create a lot of safety and a lot of freedom. And I have big desires for money to be abundant in my life, so I can give to the causes I want to give to, so I can have the big team that can help us create lots of free content and do lots of amazing things on the planet, that I can bless my family with things, especially my mum, who I have this like dream to buy her a house someday in her retirement somewhere in the world, so she can have her holiday house or her part-time home. So I can have deep, deep safety in my nervous system around money. Yet more is not always better. This is one of the myths of money, and I highly recommend a book, The Soul of Money, if you want to do a little exploration around money. I can't remember the author's name right now, but The Soul of Money. She's an amazing writer and she uses storytelling. It's a very, very easy read. It's not like a money book, but a soul-led exploration of how money actually does or doesn't bring us happiness. And one of the myths that she busts through her experience of having worked with very poor people and very rich people in her life, or have been around a lot of very poor and very rich people, is that more is not always better. And of course, there is a point of money that creates safety for us in this planet. Usually we need a lot less for safety than we think we do. But there is this thing that can kick in. It's like more, 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 more. And actually, it depends what you need to do to get that more, right? And yeah, even I had some visions and some ideas and things that I was like planning for the long term, even with the Jade Temple and what we would build and create and da 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 da. And like, I sort of came into a realization that some of the visions that I was creating for myself and for the temple maybe weren't going to add to my life quality. And actually, we're going to start to send me back into some of the patterns or some of the pressures or responsibilities or ways of working that I was before. And of course, we can always do things differently, and I will continue to remind myself of that. But just really reevaluating, am I living really in line with my values, or am I pushing and pushing and kind of pushing for the wrong reasons? So yeah, I think this little reset, internal reset, coming back to these values. What are my values? My values are around freedom. My values are authenticity. My values are around love and connection and community. And yeah, I just spinning the anyone who's listening, I'm doing lots of actions with my hands. Just turning the wheel back a little bit so I'm more on track with these values that I want to live my life by. So yeah, I really recommend, if you haven't done values work, it's always worth doing, to really, really get clear on what yours are and how you want to live life in a way that is going to be most fulfilling for you to thrive, actually. Yeah, creativity is another one of mine. Creativity, and also this, energy of play, which I'll just come on to now because it's come through, but play, play, play. I even realized that some of the things that I was doing that I was considering hobbies and play were actually not in the energy of play. They were still in the energy of succeeding and getting better and practice and blah, blah, blah. And like, it's such a loop for me. I'm such a high achiever. It's so deep in my programming, even around things like music is a really great example. So actually, this is a bit of a tangent from play, but I'm going to go here first and then come back to play. But I'm actually doing the somatic educator for women training. Again, I'm a support coach as I was before, and I'm really going through the training and all of the content because it's just incredible. And there was a session that we did with one of the teachers, Michaela Boehm. I don't know if she says Michaela or Michaela or Michaela, but Michaela Boehm, I'll say it in English. And she was talking about stress patterns in the body. So that sometimes even when we learnt to do something in a certain way, or when our behavior and pattern has been to do something in a certain way, that actually there's a somatic programming in the body that will continue to show up until we sort of reprogram it. And she actually used learning piano as an example. Like if you learn to play piano with a teacher who's over your shoulder, or a lot of pressure, or that you're practicing for exams or whatever it is, and and stress comes into your body. And she used different examples, even of holding space as well. But that if you sort of have this programmed, this stress pattern, or this pattern in your body, somatic pattern in your body programmed for certain activities, you'll find that it will repeat until you do some conscious work around releasing that or reprogramming it in a different way. So I realized a lot of the things that I was doing, even playing music, actually was bringing a lot of tension into my body. And yeah, so I'm going through a real process now of observing even more closely where this patterns and just observing, like, okay, when I'm playing, what's happening to my body? Oh, okay, I can feel it in my shoulders. Like, how can I offer for my shoulders to soften as I'm playing the piano or playing the guitar? Even riding the scooter, which, I mean, it's in some ways a reasonable stress to have in the body. The roads where I live are precarious and filled with sand and drivers who are not experienced. But, you know, even when I'm just like was going straight, not running late for something, I observed that there's still a lot of tension in my body. So offering for my body, soften, soften. So yeah, I really did a lot of work just like tracking the stress patterns and where these are coming into my body, even in places where I wouldn't have expected, or you wouldn't expect it because they're not necessarily stressful situations. And yeah, so bringing it back to play, when I was thinking about music, like, yeah, there was a lot of stress in my body and I was doing kirtans, and I am about to start again. And it is, and to be fair, it is a big space to hold, and it's a new space for me to step into from a nervous system perspective, and it is expanding my capacity. But the more I can be soft as I'm doing that, the more I can offer softness into my body and even bring in this energy of play. Like, we are there, all of us who come to sing and chant mantras together, to connect to spirit and to be present in our bodies, and to let go and to sing the beauty and joy of singing. And so the more I can transmit that softness and that play and the energy of not taking everything so seriously, the more that will also be received in the spaces that I'm holding. So yeah, that's one aspect of play, but for me it was more than that, and it is more than that. It's the being in the joyful, playful, cheeky energy of play with no purpose and no goal except to just enjoy. And even something small, I just I just got a new helmet yesterday. I bought like little kitten ears for the helmet a few weeks ago, and I've just put them onto this new helmet yesterday. And I put the helmet on this morning to get on my bike, and it brings me joy. It feels playful. I love it. Yeah, it can be anything from just like wearing something that feels playful and fun, or finding space for definitely creativity for the sake of creativity. I went to a clay class a few weeks ago, which was super beautiful. And yeah, really just finding ways to play. I went and sat for sunset the other day, and I ended up getting this, I found a stick, and I just ended up drawing this big mandala thing around where I was sitting. And actually it was really beautiful, but I just got up and left and walked away after it, because it was just creative and fun and playful whilst I was sitting there for sunset. I just had another thought that came to me and I let it go, so just give me a second. Yeah, play, play, play. Oh yeah, so I've done a lot of inner child work, and it's one of my favorite tools, I would say. Both, I mean, it's my inner child work in the therapeutic process, and then also just in our own day-to-day as a tool. But I've got some photos of me when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, around that age. And yeah, like I've got 3 photos on my altar, and all 3 of them I'm pulling a face. Like I've got my brother next to me, and I'm like pulling a face, and I'm like, she's playful, she's cheeky, she's fun. Like, and I just like meditate with her in my heart a little bit, just to remind myself like the energy of play and how much fun I am, or I used to be. No, I am. And yeah, like bringing her into my experience. There's a woman I follow on Instagram. She's Blue of Earth on Instagram, BLU. And she has a saying, and I can't remember exactly what age she uses, but she says, the only person I'm worried about impressing is my 7-year-old self, something like that. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Like, are we making our little girl, the little girl inside of us out, the little one that was dreaming and had all of these like, yeah, creative ideas and that was just playful and fun. Like, are we impressing her, or is she looking at us like saying, this is not what I had planned? Thanks for that. Not quite the life I was looking for, you know. And yes, life is real and there are serious things and there are responsibilities, and I'm fully aware of that. And I have many of my own. And where can we find the pockets of play? Where can we even bring play into the work or the responsibilities? Where can we bring more lightness into the day-to-day actions and not get so serious? Like, I really, really, really believe, and it's another one of my life lessons, like life is a game. The more playful we can take it, the more playful we can be with all of life. Like, this is one of our lessons in life. And of course I know that that's a much harder thing to do when you're in different environments or situations. But for many of us, we're creating these stressful, serious lives, even when we don't need to, myself included. I said, saying to someone, like, how can I be so serious when I'm building a pussy empire? Hill and I are creating something that is like so revolutionary and so fun. And of course, there is a lot of seriousness in what we're doing because we're all accessing such deep places and a lot comes up. But, like, how much fun can we have doing this? How much play can we have getting women together in a pussy revolution to, take our power back and do it in a way that's playful and fun, as well as holding the parts of it that are painful and the parts of it that are challenging. Yeah. Yeah. And then I guess I'm going to sort of wrap it up pretty soon, but I think the other two areas are a little bit more, I don't know if they're obvious, but one is just, again, remembering, like, when have I been at my best? When have I felt my best? When have I felt super connected to myself, to my purpose, to spirit, to whatever it is that makes you feel like aligned and clear? And which practices was I doing when I felt like that? And just seeing where, practices slip in and out. I love to say life is a forgetting and a remembering. And without shaming ourselves, like, this is just going to happen naturally. It's maybe some people can keep a practice going for their entire life every single day and they can be super robotic about it. And and actually I think that I needed to go through a phase of breaking that a little bit. I don't need to be on my mat every single morning. Yet it slipped a little bit further than I wanted it to. So just coming back to my meditation, coming back to my yoga, coming back to dance and movement, putting a song on in the morning and just dancing is one of the best practices that you can do. Coming back to embodiment practices, coming back to pleasure practices. I mean, again, I wouldn't say that I was out of any of these practices. They're all present with me, but maybe just not as much or as regularly as I would like, as I know is really, really beneficial for me. And bringing them back in a way that doesn't add more guilt and more pressure and more should in our lives, but just in a light way. Maybe having a list of the 5 to 10 practices, whatever it is that are good for you. And when you wake up in the morning, like, pick one for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. What feels good today? What do I feel like today? And the other one that I wanted to just mention is actually getting treatment for the pains in my body, like professional help and support. And, I'm very, very fortunate here, can have regular massage, and I was doing that, and I do that as such a beautiful privilege and a gift to be able to do here in Thailand. But what my body needed and is needing is some deeper, either somatic body work or osteopathy. Yeah, going to the osteo. Really, like, taking the time and spending the money, even if it can feel like a bit of a pinch, just to feel like it's like feeling good in the body is the most important thing. And having chronic pain, it needs to be treated in some way, and I think even as soon as I start going to the treatments, my body already starts to feel better, because she's like, thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for, spending the time and money on caring for me, because pain is a real It can really affect our mood. It really can bring us down when this pain is with us, constantly. So yeah. And then, as always, pleasure, 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 following what feels good for me in my body, what would feel most nourishing for me right now, what would feel good in this moment. And I think I did a live on pleasure a few weeks ago, but pleasure is way more than sexuality. Pleasure is about what feels good in the body and not overriding and not ignoring the signals that we need and signals that we hear to try and please someone else. Really like getting more and more and more in line with this, what would feel good for me right now, what would feel most nourishing for me right now, and honoring that in the body, honoring that for yourself. It builds a lot of deep self-trust, a lot of deep self-love. And yeah, really, really, really is one of my greatest keys, choosing this life, this path of pleasure. So, my loves, I feel like I've done a lot of talking, because I have. But yeah, hopefully there's a nugget or two in there that might support you in your own journey. I know there's a lot of us in it right now, or a lot of people in it right now. So that's a short little sharing of what's helped me in the last few months. I feel like I'm coming out the other side. I feel really, really, joyful and supported and connected to the magic. It's really the words that keep coming back to me, because there is so much magic in this life, and when we feel connected to it, it multiplies, and it's more and more, and all of these moments present themselves. And I really wish for everyone to be feeling connected to the magic, connected to your body, connected to yourself. I'm going to offer 3 deep breaths before I finish this podcast. So if you're wherever you are, if you can close your eyes, if you can take a moment, letting the air out of the lungs, taking a deep breath of gratitude into the heart. Exhaling with sound, letting everything go, letting it go, softening in the body. Deep breath of self-acceptance into the belly and the womb. Letting it go. And a last breath of pleasure into the yoni. Having a little wiggle, letting the body soften, exhaling, softening. The power of a few deep breaths. Thank you for listening. If you're here, I will just finish. I'm just checking the time. Very, very, very quick. Shout out to our new membership. We had our opening call on Wednesday. It was so beautiful, really, just the power of the shares at the end of women reconnecting to their bodies after birth, after surgery, or being able to drop in and feel themselves for the first time after having kids 6 months ago and feeling like a growing baby, nurturing baby feeding machine, of women who are newly pregnant and being able to drop in and have deep presence with a new pregnancy, of just tears of gratitude, of being able to stop and slow down and be with these female bodies. It was so powerful, so rich, so deep. We've even had, I just watched before this, a few shares of women who watched the replay who couldn't be with us live, and just sharing how powerful it is to come into community and do this work. And we are pouring our love in to create a space for us to come together in community and do this work, to be able to feel what's underneath the surface, to be able to embrace and reconnect or connect to all of our female body, our breasts, our womb, our yonis, our pussies, to be in wholeness in these female bodies and hold each other through life, which can be super challenging So we've got live classes, we have daily drops with really short practices and inspiration. We have community chat with women sharing. And yeah, we are going all in on this. So please, please, please check it out if you feel the call. It is a magical space, and it's only going to get more and more magical as we keep pouring our love in there. So thank you for listening. I love you. You got this. If anything resonates with you, please let me know. If you want me to expand on any subject, please let me know. Please do all of the things like subscribe, share. Please help us get this out to as many women in the world as possible. And yeah, sending so much love. Thank you for listening, sisters. We hope you're feeling expanded after being here with us. If you are, the best way you can support us on this journey of creating free content for this movement is to rate, review, or share this podcast. It would mean so much to us as we try and grow this sisterhood into a global revolution.
And if you want to hear all of our latest news, get free practices and tips, and learn about our offerings, sign up for our juicy emails at thejadetemple.com. Thank you so much, sisters. We love you and hope to see you soon.